Welcome back to the Pulse. We apologize for that brief interruption and we'll bring you the details of that story a bit later. Right now, though, President-elect John Mahama also dispelled claims that the Operation Recover or Loot Oral Committee is a tool for political witch hunting. His remarks come amid concerns from some groups that the committee's investigation will unfairly target individuals, particularly members of the outgoing administration.
I announced the preparatory committee, and I think people are misunderstanding it. We're receiving a lot of information on things that are going wrong, or things, corruption scandals and all that. Some send me texts on my phone, some call me, others pass through other people. We want a focal point where all that evidence is directed, and so that they can assemble that evidence. And once we come into office, Oral is not going to be investigating people. It's going to gather the evidence and pass on that evidence to the government institutions that are geared, supposed to do that kind of work. And so we just want that if people have any information that they think is useful in the fight against corruption, pass it on to this team. That's what the team is about. And they're all doing that service pro bono. They're not expecting any payment. There's no expenditure or budget associated with the task that they're carrying out. And so that's the explanation for it.
Meanwhile, the 2024 flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has suggested that their campaign faced a significant communication disadvantage during the December 7 presidential election, largely due to the National Democratic Congress dominance of key traditional media outlets. Speaking to NPP communicators at his residence yesterday for the first time since the December 7 election, Dr. Bawumia acknowledged that the party's efforts during the campaign, but noted that the media also hindered their electoral strategy.
Big disappointment, there's no doubt about it, when the results came. Why was it a disappointment? Because all the work we had done was pointing to the fact that we would win this election. There was, clear evidence on the ground as we went to all the 276 constituencies. It was clear that, we were going to do well. But on the day of the election, something was amiss. Turnout was so low, and everybody was wondering what was happening. Why? Where are people? I must say, like I said, we worked very hard in the campaign. I must tell you that I'm very proud of the communication team. Very, 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 very proud. We did very well. You did an excellent job. I must congratulate you. We dominated the NDC in social media. By far, very, very clearly. And we were working against their ownership of or support from key media houses, isn't it? Yeah. So it put that as a disadvantage in many ways in terms of the communication field, because we had a lot of these key media houses who were not on our side. And so we had to, but you fought very hard any time you had the opportunity. I've been following the communications very closely over the campaign because I wanted to know how things were going across the space.
Well, let's bring in political marketing expert, Professor Jean Mensa. Many thanks for joining us, Prof. And really, do you agree to the Vice President's position on this matter?
Thank you so much for having me. Of course, I do not agree. And not only me, I'm sure quite a lot of people in Ghana who actually observed the elections would be taken aback, with that particular assertion. Let's discuss, let's look at when we talk about media control. Obviously, from a very political communication perspective, you look at media control from at least four angles. One, you're talking about, ownership concentration. Two, you're talking about editorial, influences and editorial oversight. Three, you're talking about commercialization, i.e., a client or a political party having the money to really, dominate or buy media spots or ad spots. And then, of course, you are talking about customer base, the viewership for some of these media houses. I mean, when you talk about key media houses in Ghana, clearly you're talking about the public, outlets or, the national media spaces. And of course, you're talking about the private ones. Now, it's very hard to look at these, factors that I've talked about to sort of agree with, the vice president. I think it's very hard to do that. I mean, the last time that we heard that a certain political party had a control, in terms of positive, media relationship was in 2000 election. And that was even an MPP because obviously Kufuor had promised quite a lot of things. And of course, the NDC was very, very unpopular at the time. Now, since then, whenever you go into elections, it's actually the incumbent that seems to have that particular advantage. And so for Dr. Bawumia to actually say that, I think that in all the control that I just mentioned, it's very difficult to say that. Because if you look at editorial oversight, all right, which usually you don't see because that one is not publicized. Of course, in terms of ownership, you can actually see the records in the public records. I mean, quite a lot of, private media houses aren't really, Father Christmas or aren't charitable or NGO organized. They are for commercial purposes. And so you would have to pay in order to get access to that. Majority of them, which we know, the ownership, are actually even MPP owners, So it is very difficult to actually make the assumptions. And then, of course, in terms of commercialization, how much you can pay. If you look at the adverts in the last elections, for example, and if you look at the major slots, it is very hard to think that it was an NDC domination as opposed to MPP domination. And then, of course, social media, of course, if that's what he's talked about, he even said that social media, they dominated the NDC. So I'm not quite sure when he talks about the NDC having control over the key media houses. I'm not quite sure what he's talking about.
Prof, right before the campaigns for both political parties, we've always known that it is always a two-horse race. But before the campaigns, it's often said, and I don't know whether you're going to agree to this, but it's often said that usually the incumbent government or the party in power would usually have a hard time to defend some of the policies that they may have implemented. And so sometimes they find their communicators, or not all communicators, on the same page. And so the defense of some policies that they implemented was one of the major communication bridge or gap. Could this be true?
I agree with you. And what does that mean? It means you've lost favor. I mean, if you are actually in favor, it means that you're delivering. And so if we take their own conversation that they were delivering, why would they be out of favor? You understand my point? Now, commercial media houses like the private ones are one, but definitely for commercialization, all right? And then, of course, because they need, government ad spend, they need to really be on the side of the government in order that they can get the advertising revenues, all right? They hardly hit hard against a certain government. They would only switch allegiance when they realize that a certain government is highly unpopular. If you're highly unpopular, what does that mean? You haven't delivered. That's where they would see that power is going to change, and so they would switch camp. And so if Dr. Bawumia is actually saying that major media houses or key media houses were actually switching camp to the NDC, that actually goes to tell you that they failed to what? To deliver. And so people were actually against them. And if people are against you, you're going to lose the customer base if they do not have the opposition party on set discussing issues, because that's the only way it will bring you the eyeballs. But if you have, following government, machinery, and you have government communication, the people will ditch you. And if the people will ditch you, you're not going to have a commercialization advantage, all right?
Yes.
So if we have to go by his own argument, then of course they were out of favor with the people. And once you're out of favor with the people, you'll be out of favor with the media house. That's as simple as that.
But Prof, what really do you think the Vice President was hoping to achieve? Do you think he's shifting the real attention, the cause of their loss in this December 7 election? What's the import of the thing he's saying?
I think there is a denial that they actually failed to meet the expectation of Ghanaians. And obviously, as a responsible leader, not to actually sort of reduce or let your followers be disappointed. You want to say things that perhaps would give them some kind of comfort, for example. And so he was careful not to actually accept the blame that they failed. But clearly they failed. That's why their people didn't come out. That's why others didn't actually join them in terms of the floating voters. If you really performed as you claim, why would people stay away from you? It makes sense. There's no logic in that particular position. Prof, so I take it like a comfort message, for his people. Right,
Prof. Because of your specialty in political marketing, let's do some target market analysis and consumer behaviors. Let's just say that the electorate now are the consumers. Can you please help me analyze the behavior of the 2024 electorate as a consumer of the campaign messages and the 2020? So 2024, comparing it to the 2020. Now I ask because in 2020, there was a different kind of voting level. And in Ghana here, we described it as a skirt and blouse, which is what led to the hung parliament, which we have had since 2020. And would you say that the today voter is behaving quite differently? What's the clear difference between them, the 2024 and the 2020?
I think that the Ghanaian voter has been very consistent, that there's a certain pattern of volatility in our political system. If you look at it, almost every political party had been allowed 2 terms, and they removed them. You would almost say that there's a repeat purchase after your first voting. So when you come in, 2004, we gave the MPP a repeat purchase, just to find out whether they would indeed deliver what they said they would do. And then, of course, in that second term, they still don't. And then the voters would actually kick them out and bring them in. So there is a consistency in the Ghanaian voters' expectation of the political parties' responsibilities. And that is why none of them had been able to cross that 8-year, 2-term cycle. Because consistently the Ghanaian voter had been, disappointed, and consistently they've actually made their voices known. Whoever is able to cross the 8, it means that they had actually agreed, or they have actually delivered to the expectation of the Ghanaian voter. If they do not use excessive force or they don't use any other methods like stealing, etc., but if we have to allow the voters to express themselves, it means that since 2000, we haven't been satisfied with the political parties and we've been consistent in our behavior.
Would you say that the current demographics also has influenced the way we accepted the campaign messages in any way?
Absolutely. I mean, there is a lot of talk about, the campaign had been very policy driven, and it is true. I think that in both ways, from the behavior of the political parties, and then, of course, from the behavior of the voters, the political parties have come to realize that the voters would not listen to any other thing than very, very effective communication. Are you speaking to me about exactly what I need, or you're actually saying things that do not actually fall within the scope of my expectation? And because of that, the political parties have been very policy heavy, in terms of their engagement going forward. They have also realized the kind of segment that we're beginning to have. And so in the past, I'm not sure the political party, although social media wasn't there, but they wouldn't use many other channels of communication except the conventional political ones. So even if you look at 2000, when we didn't have social media, but we had cantata, we had, maybe a lifestyle, kind of platforms in terms of media. But political parties were not using them because they didn't find them to be worthy of political messaging. They were using talking points, they were using news, they were using press conferences, etc. Anything aside what we consider as political communication platform, they won't use it. But now you see political parties going to lifestyle shows, going to entertainment shows, going to TikTok, going to all those kind of platforms that we call them vanity in political circles, all right? And so they have come to understand that you need a broader understanding of segments, voter segment, in order that you could actually appeal to each of them.
Well, Prof, let's get some consultation for the NPP. Moving forward, at least the president-elect has only 4 years. And so it looks like 2028 is going to be a different kind of election as well in Ghana, which we all look forward to. But moving forward, if the political party, the NPP, consulted and said that, well, what kind of political marketing communication strategy can we use to heal ourselves and even still come back, especially being in opposition?
Yeah, they shouldn't be dogmatic. I mean, the NPP, from the sounds that we're hearing, had been too dogmatic. I mean, if you have a vice president asking where are our people, I wonder whether he really understands the political market. You just don't get followers, just like football team, turning up at every match of yours. You've got to deliver. It's about welfare. It's about people's lives. It's about people's, growth. It's about their dignity. If you do not do, they're not just going to come up and follow you and vote for you as if you own them. It doesn't happen like that. So the NPP should understand that they don't have to be dogmatic. They have to be responsive, and they have to speak to the language of the voter, not as a sports entity. If they are able to recognize that, then of course they would actually be responsive to the needs of the voter. So yes, be political marketing, don't do sales. They want to shove it at the throat of people. It doesn't work like that.
Prof, thank you. You got me right there. Thank you so much for talking to us. Thank you. Well, moving on, the Tertiary Education Workers Union Ghana, TEU Ghana, has backed off attempts to scuttle a meeting of the Council of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. The group has been resisting what it terms as an attempt to smuggle in a rival group, TUC, to serve on the council despite an order by the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. The two groups have had their membership on the 12-member council suspended since 2019, pending investigations by GTEG. Now, the Tertiary Education Workers Union Ghana, TEU Ghana, at a press conference threatened to cause chaos if the rival group, TUC, is allowed to pursue the interests of teachers and education workers because it lacks the capacity. But the union says it has reached an agreement with the university management not to allow the participation of TUC at the council meeting. Here is the chairman of TEU Ghana, KNUST, Charles Arthur, speaking to my colleague Ohim Interior.
What is happening on campus today is that yesterday in the afternoon, management called us and informed us that they will go by the directives of the GTEC, which means that they will not sworn in or allow any TUC member to take part in the council meeting. And if that is the case, which this morning they have confirmed that they will not allow TUC rep to attend the council meeting, we welcome that. Management and labor relationship is like a wife and husband. That's how it is. So we have accepted that, and as a result of that, we have come our members that we should accept that and go by that. And it is our prayer and hope that management, as they have said, will go ahead with that there will not be any confusion.
Meanwhile, the Tertiary Education Workers Union of the Trade Union Congress, TUC, also insists they are legally mandated union to sit on the University Council. Chairperson of TUC, Salamata Brahma Mahama, joins us live on Zoom here. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us and getting clarity on this matter. Can you please bring clarity as to what there is and what is not?
Good afternoon to you and your listeners. This afternoon, I want to bring clarity to this council representation issue. There is an act establishing the universities, and the act stipulates Tewu representation. There is a statute governing the university, and the statute also stipulates Teachers and Educational Workers Union of TUC, that is Tewu of TUC. Now, these Tewu Ghana people who are now saying they are against our representation, they were reps of Tewu on the various university councils. There were reps of Teachers and Educational Workers Union on the various university councils. Now, they misconducted, and then we asked them to render account for their stewardship. And based on that, they decided that they have broken away. Now, if you have broken away, are you moving all the members of the existing union with you? Now, as it stands now, we have members, Tewu of TUC still have members on the university council. And because the act is in our favor, ideally, we are supposed to be represented on council.
Did I lose you? I'm so sorry. So we're trying to get clarity as to which one of the unions really is duly to be represented on the council at the KNUST University. Now, if I am understanding, there seem to be Tewu and also Tewu TUC. By the end of this conversation, we'll get clarity as to which one particularly the Act mandates to be part of the council, as to whether the Act provides a place for both unions, or because one existed and then they misconducted, as the spokesperson is saying now, the Act now allows that you allow the other Tewu TUC to represent. We'll try and get clarity on that as we've been speaking to. Let me see if I've still got her back. Right. Madam Sally, if you can hear me, please go on.
Yes, so the reality is that the Act as it is now recognizes Teachers and Educational Workers Union of TUC. That is Tewu of TUC.
Okay.
Unless we say that we are not law-abiding and then we want to do things anyhow. When we met GTEC, we told GTEC clearly that the issue of council representation is non-negotiable. GTEC is aware, which is non-negotiable, okay, and we stand by it.
Okay, Madam Sally, I'll take you back again, and I just want more clarity. And so, your initial submission, you mentioned that the Act provides or allows the representation of Tewu or Tewu TUC. Which one of them and which one misconducted itself?
So, hitherto we had Tewu TUC.
Okay.
And these Tewu GH people who are now claiming representation were our members.
Okay.
And they represented us on council.
Okay.
They were council reps. They were council reps of Tewu TUC.
Okay.
And then, you know, per our constitution, you cannot serve for more than 2 terms.
Okay.
So the current leadership, especially the KNUST group, Charles Atta, served for more than 2 terms. And then we said the members started agitating that, look, per the constitution, you cannot go for more than 2 terms. So you needed to account for your stewardship so that elections will be conducted for someone else to go. But he was power drunk. So based on that, he decided that he will break away. Okay. So they broke away. In fact, not he alone, he and the UDS guy. And they broke away. But they were reps, council representatives of Tewu of TUC until their day. So what are they saying?
Okay, so what's your position currently, Tewu TUC, on this matter, particularly?
So our position is that the recognized union based on
Oh, I'm sorry. I lost Madame Sali again. But if we're able to bring clarity to this, we definitely will bring it
position. And that,
unfortunately. If you can hear me finally.
Hello, can you hear
yes,
me now?
I can hear you. I want your exact position on it. So as it stands now, Tewu TUC is what the Act recognizes.
Yes, please.
Okay. And what's your position currently as you
Yes,
speak?
and listeners can check.
Okay.
Listeners can check Act, the University Act and the statutes.
Okay.
To confirm. And so when they were representing the breakaway group, when they were representing Tewu of TUC, that time it was fine.
Okay.
But now that they said they have broken away to form their own union, then it is not fine for Tewu TUC to be recognized on council. What is going on?
What will you do? Will you trigger the laws because this is backed by law?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is clear. This is clear. It is clear that does not even need any
there's no ambiguity on this one. Okay.
There's no ambiguity. The universities are being governed by the statutes and the Act.
Perfect.
And
okay.
It is explicitly stated.
Okay.
It's explicitly stated.
Okay.
Unless, of course, they want to condone discipline. Why? Universities are autonomous bodies. Why would somebody go and pull from another university to come and cause havoc or to come and make noise in another university?
Madam
Salamatu,
thank you so much for bringing clarity to this. And so we'll also await the response of the university as well. And thank you so much for speaking to us. We'll go for a quick break. The Pulse returns. Welcome back to The Pulse. Now, the Electoral Commission has expanded the re-collation of electoral results to 9 constituencies. At a press conference to address issues concerning the results of some outstanding constituencies, Chairperson of the EC, Jean Mensa, says re-collated results of 3 constituencies to whom Akwetia and Fantiakwa North will be accepted. First, listen to Jean Mensa raise concerns over the chaotic situations that surrounded the collation, including the assaults of its staff.
Hundreds of supporters who besieged our collation centers brought proceedings to a standstill in a number of the centers. These supporters destroyed pink sheets required for the collation, as well as results collation forms in some areas. In some instances, they vandalized and destroyed the desktop computers set up to collate the results electronically. Additionally, and sadly, they beat up our staff and threatened them with death, and ultimately brought proceedings at the constituency collation centers to a halt. Citizens of Ghana, this is the reason why the collation in some constituencies could not be completed prior to the declaration of the presidential results. It is important to emphasize that the collation in all centers were proceeding in accordance to lay down guidelines as enshrined in CI 127 before the supporters entered into our constituency collation centers. There was therefore no reason or justification for the call to supporters to besiege the collation centers. That call, in the view of the Commission, was calculated to disrupt the processes and mar the seamless and effortless electoral processes that had commenced from the start of the polls at 7 a.m. that Saturday, the 7th of December 2024. We have been faced with resistance, threats, intimidation, and the destruction of our properties.
Well, let's gauge the mood at the presser today. My colleague James Aveji joins me in studio. I'm interested. So these constituencies that the Election Commission says is not going to be recognized in, first of all, they are parliamentary candidates, or those seats that were declared in their favor, were they present or were they represented by the parties?
Exactly. All of them have parliamentary candidates of the two major political parties in there. Now, there are some unique cases about some of these 9 of them. So let me just run you through them and what we've seen so far as at today. Now, for some constituencies, the coalitions at those constituencies during the 7th and the 8th of December coalitions didn't end due to chaos. Ahafo Southwest is one of them. Ahafo North is also one of them, including Obuasi East constituency. Now, you remember that last week there were attempts to do some re-coalitions. For instance, in the Greater Accra Regional Coalition Center, 2 coalitions were done. Ablekuma North as well as Okaikwe Central were done. The EC said they are not accepting the final results which were declared in favor of the NDC candidate. At the police depot, 4 attempts were made, 3 were successful. Akwetia was done, Suhum was done, Infantia North was also done. The EC said it is accepting those 3 which were declared in favor of the NPP candidate. And then for the rest of the constituencies, Nsawa Meduejiri, Ablekuma North, Tema Central was actually concluded and declared in favor of the NDC's Ebi Bright.
Yes.
Exactly. And then Dom Kwabinya was also concluded and declared in favor of the NDC candidate. Exactly. Okay. But the EC said there were some challenges with that because the entire police station results were not collated before the final declaration, and so it's not accepting. So just briefly, in Sawama Drejri, Ahafo Southwest, Ahafo North, Obuasi East, Okaikwe Central, Ablekuma North, Tema Central, Techima South, Dom Kwabenya are the 9 constituencies that the EC said they would have to recollate those electoral results. Okay, but the Okaikwe Central and Ablekuma North, are they part of this 9? Do you just exactly they are part of they are part of the 9. They have to be recollated. Recollated because the EC said the coalition process didn't end before the final declaration was done. Okay. Sure. So she's been picking each one of them and explaining why they are not accepting the result of those. We can listen to her on those reasons.
In Sawam Aduajiri, where parties, of course, on election day besieged the collation centers and brought the collation there to a halt. As I mentioned, the commission tried to complete the collation process on Friday, the 13th of December. However, when it got to 143, the collation for 143 polling stations, there was an agreement that they should put it on hold until the following day. Sadly, that following day was not to be, and the collation was called off because we were informed by the police service that supporters of the parties were planning to besiege the police depot and to cause disruptions at the center, and we were advised to put it on hold. And so that collation is incomplete and we cannot declare an outcome. I must note that in the Ahafo Southwest and in the Ahafo North, as the collation on election day was also disrupted and no winners were declared. Those processes were incomplete, and until they are complete, the commission will not be in the position to declare a winner. In Obuasi East, the collation center was attacked by party supporters, and the returning officer was threatened with an axe. His hands were lifted up, and he was asked to declare a winner when that was not what was reflected on the results collation form. Again, that process was not lawful, and the commission would not uphold it. In the Okaikwe Central, I did mention that 110 polling stations results were used to declare a winner instead of 141. the Commission would not uphold that process. In the Ablekuma North constituency, 219 polling station results were used to declare a winner instead of 281 polling station results. The Commission would not uphold that declaration. In Tema Central, the DO again was threatening, and he was forced to declare results using 146 polling stations instead of 148. The Commission would not uphold that declaration. In Bono East, the officer was physically assaulted. In Bono East, in Techiman South, in the Bono East region, the officer, the returning officer, and other staff were physically assaulted and forced to redeclare the results at gunpoint. The Commission, it's important to note that the collation process had not been completed. There also, the Commission would not uphold those processes. In Domi Kwabenya, there's some contention with 3 polling station results, and the Commission is carrying out its own investigation with the 3 polling station results. I believe 367 of those results have been duly declared as legitimate. There are 3 results that are outstanding, and the Commission is carrying out its own investigations to allow it, to enable it take a decision.
Well, let's bring in the NDC's Deputy Director of Elections, Dr. Rashid Tanko. Many thanks for joining us. What is the NDC's official position on the EC deciding or the decision regarding the re-collation of the 9 constituencies? Doc, can you hear me? If you can unmute.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, clear. Thank you so much.
I'm saying that as a political party. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, very loud and clear, Doc.
Yeah, very well. Let me say we are dismissing the press conference with the contempt it deserves. I mean, it doesn't lie with Madam Jean Mensa and her commissioners to determine whether declaration was done and it is a law court. We have been saying it time and again. They shouldn't constitute themselves into judges and start to sit there and determine who announced under duress or who didn't announce under duress. That doesn't lie in their mouth. It is the High Court. If somebody is aggrieved with such declaration, she's not a contestant. She wasn't a contestant in part of the elections. She was just a referee. So they shouldn't be determining to us whether those things were done under duress or not. And it is a High Court that can do it. And we must very clear in our mind that. Secondly, let's also put it on record that, look, whatever Madam Jean Mensa is going to do is doubling in illegality. That's completely illegal.
Dr. Rashid, so what kind of law are you triggering on them, especially because these parliamentary candidates that are in dispute, or the constituencies that are in dispute, they are parliamentary candidates that have been declared therein, have not been gazetted. At what point then will we go to court?
It's not about waiting for the gazette before you go to court. You can arrest the process if you think that whatever process they are following through will not inure to it will not give you a level playing ground. You can go to court for the court to stop the process and make sure that the right procedure is adopted. I'll give you an example. Why we stopped the Nsawam adultery. It was very clear. The people came there with photocopy pink sheets. The electoral commission didn't have original pink sheets. The pink sheets they brought to do the copy, this and the collation were alterated pink sheets. They alterated some of the figures. And we saw it. About 82 polling stations. That challenges. And they knew that we flagged all of that. So on what basis were they going to doing the collation? With the MPP coming with their fake photocopy pink sheets?
Well,
because they were not listening to it. That's why we arrested it.
Okay.
I think that was not the right procedure as adopted under C127, Regulation 43, the procedure for collating resource had not been followed. In any case, Madame Jean Mensa mentioned Fantiako North, that it was successfully collated. Madame should have allowed you people to question her. Who announced the Fantiako North resource at Tesano? Was it the returning officer? It wasn't the returning officer. They brought somebody who styled himself as a returning officer.
So, Doc, for the NDC, you are dismissing the communique from the EC. Let me go to Haruna Mohammed. He's a Deputy General Secretary for the NPP. And if you can hear me, thank you for joining us. What's your position on the information that the EC shared with us today?
Thank you very much, MFA. I say good afternoon to your cherished viewers and then my good brother, Dr. Rashid Tanko, computer. I think that what the EC is saying is the position of the law. We have a law that governs this election, which is CI 127. We have always said that the NPP is a beacon of democracy. We have done so by letting Ghanaians to understand how the peaceful nature we are. The NDC has perpetuated a lot of violence through their hoodlums who had gone to destroy this particular ballot papers and pink sheets that the Electoral Commission original is holding. And they have been able to protect the Electoral Commission from doing coalition. In some of the situations, they have gone under gunpoint to threaten the people, of which some of them, the petitions have come. We have asked for a complete coalition of these particular places. Hopefully, 3 of them have been able to be done, and we are waiting to get the rest of that to be done. So if the Electoral Commission is coming out today to say they need adequate security, I think that is good because we have all seen the hoodlums of the NDC who are parading themselves, going around destroying properties and then burning down markets, schools, and all that. We have all seen how they are doing all these things through their own mastercraft. So we want the right to be done. And then the Electoral Commission asking for a complete security to be able to do it, I think that we are entirely in support of that. What we want the NDC to know is that while they are doing and we are quiet and we are watching, we are not cowards. It will get to a time that we are going to trigger the Constitution where we have the right to defend. And when we start, I think that this country will be very small for all of us.
And so the decision to want to go to court a bit earlier in the week, would you still proceed as the EC has brought some clarity to the constituencies that are in dispute?
You can only go to court when the results is gazetted. So once the results are gazetted and you look at it, and you can proceed to court. So if the EC is saying that those 9 constituencies are not properly declared and they want this thing to be done properly in line with the laws that govern elections, then it means that the EC will not go ahead to gazette them. So once it's not done and it's not being gazetted, we are ready to go to court on some of those particular areas. Areas that we are going to court is not even captured in the 9 constituencies. It's not captured there. Areas we are going to court is not captured there. The 9 constituencies are constituencies that were done under duress, constituencies that they put gun on these people and ask them to choose their position or their lives. This is what we're talking about. He's talking about cancellation.
Right.
These were places that you perm the numbers. The numbers that is for winning for the MPP, you turn it and give it to the NDC because you are doing so at gunpoint. Well, we are well aware of all these particular factors.
Well,
they should be mindful that there will be a day that they will be on the other side. And once they are doing, Ghanaians are watching. We are watching them. Well, and they should not come out and complain tomorrow if it is on them. Because it is going to be very...
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, Dr. Rashid Tanko, as well, for talking to us. You're watching The Pulse. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to The Pulse. Now, one of the critical sectors that shaped the 2024 elections is the economy. While the outgoing government insists that the economy has rebounded to pre-COVID levels, the incoming administration strongly disputes this, claiming the economy remains in its intensive care unit. Amid this debate, expectations from key stakeholders are mounting. But what is the true state of Ghana's economy today, with the exchange rate hovering around 15 Ghana cedis, and what can the incoming administration do differently to meet stakeholders' expectations, especially as it promises to cut some taxes? On the Pulse today, we focus on this pivotal sector. Now, joining us in studio, really, Dr. Joseph Obeng, President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, what you know as GUTA, and also Jean Mensa, Greater Accra, President of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, also, and Samson Asaki Awingobet, you know him, popular man, Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana. We'll also be joined by Zoom by other key players, Dr. George Domfe. He is an economist with the University of Ghana, and also on Zoom is John Kwame Edujak, Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, a bit later via Zoom. But before we dive into this conversation, my colleague really has been bringing and been digging the data. Let's go to Kofi Ajay to bring us the details of what he's been discovering. Kofi, I know you're on Zoom. Did I catch you by surprise?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you, Kofi. What have you been discovering?
Well, I mean, just like you said, the economy was one of the main reasons why possibly you have the NDC in power at the moment. And you definitely will know that coming into 2025, 2026, there are a lot of debt servicing obligations coming up for the current administration. But also, you also know that businesses are also expecting the government to honor some of the promises that they made in their 2024, manifesto. So, I mean, if you look at the NDC, for instance, they made about 112 promises on the economy. And this afternoon, we'll be focusing more on what they made to businesses and the tax aspect, because that has always been the challenge. Whilst government is looking for ways and means to raise more revenue through taxes, businesses are also finding ways and means to convince government not to keep on them what sometimes they call nuisance tax. But maybe, thankfully, you have a government that is into power which says that there are about 5 taxes that they call draconian. And in fact, if you look at these taxes, these are the taxes that businesses have been complaining about over the years. And this government says that when they get the opportunity, they will scrap them. I'm talking about the COVID-19 levy, the e-levy as well, and then also betting tax, as well as the tax on emissions. One that possibly skipped a level is the fact that it was made categorically in the NDC's manifesto on page 3 and 30 that they were going to scrap, taxes on duties, especially import vehicles and on goods and services come to the India. If you look at the arrangement or the wording of especially in respect to this aspect, you will know that on page 3, the NDC, they go ahead to say that they're going to scrap the tax. They said import duty on vehicles and on goods and services that are actually coming into the agri sector. But if you go to page 30, they begin to now separate the taxes that they will cut from the taxes that they will call what they call rationalization, and they never spoke about scrapping the import duty at that side. This time around, they chose to use the word rationalize import duty. So, not really know what they really want to do with the import duties on vehicles and other goods and services that come to the agri sector. But it will be an interesting 4 years to actually watch. Why? Because the economy is still key. And at this moment, you will know, if you look at all economic indicators, the economy is still heated up. And it will take some time before we may see some improvements. We do not know how the government is going to find alternatives to actually, scrap this. I think currently we can count about 5 taxes. What will be the alternatives? How are they going to negotiate with the IMF? Because we know that we're currently under an IMF program. New mobilization or generation is very key. And if you're going to scrap any tax under the PCPEG program, then definitely you should go to the negotiation table with an alternative.
Thank you, Kofi. So this data is really not new to us. You've brought us this data before, but we just thought to actually bring it back to put the conversation into more perspective. And so thank you for just doing justice. Now, though, I'll start the conversation in the studio, and then I will start with the importers. Now, this is because Ghana heavily depends on importation. And so, Samsung, I really want at least 3 top challenges that you have faced over the years that you want to box at least 3 of them, the top 3 of them.
Thank you very much, MFR. I never knew I'm a popular person until you said it.
Well, you are.
I thought I would get a small boy in some corner.
Well,
but
you
because once I sit here and my senior man is here, he wear the cap. He who fit the cap must wear the cap.
He's the senior,
exactly.
Yeah, the popular one.
So, good afternoon to your cherished viewers and listeners all over the world. And then thank you for bringing me close to my senior brother, Efeshapa, senior brother, and Efeshapa to the numerous people who are watching your platform, especially the business community. So, Father, we are here to protect their interests. I must say that one of the top three is about our currency. It is one of the areas. I'm told that today people went to Agugulusi and they said that goods are getting shortage in the market. I don't know if you've picked up this news this today from the Agugulusi. What it means is that many importers for the last 3 months, when we used to prepare to import for Christmas, do not import. And my senior brother is here, and my senior comrade, I'm sure he would support this idea. Because many people say that they have lost sales 40% consistently, month by month, as a result of the cedi depreciation. Now, if those who were making sales in January, February, March, and were waiting that by May I can buy the dollar and start paying my supplier, did not know that, and were thinking that maybe the dollar, if it would go at all, it would between $1 to 10 cedis or 30 cedis. Suddenly, the dollar went as far as 17 cedis. Inflation is also another key area that also affected our people. Inflation went as far as 54%. Then, of course, the exchange rate that we use in the port in calculating the duty, because the benchmark values was completely withdrawn, making importers unbearable. And that was why many importers, when the report came, was that people are now diverting their cargo to Ivory Coast, Lomé, and then finding ways to meet and come. And now, any smuggler would want to outsmart you. And so the few ones who were bringing the goods, the cargo through our port, have really suffered, to the extent that many people said, I cannot import again. I am waiting to see the election. I can tell you, many people also wind up their businesses because they think that government was doing virtually nothing to control the cedi depreciation. And I said, maybe the government was interested in running our cedi to such a lower rate, so that government will make more revenue through the importation duties and taxes. But don't forget that the more you do that, the more you are squeezing the people. Instead of it to expand, instead of it to bring more cargo, there are people who will tell you that from 24 January to now, I have not even bring one container.
Okay, and this is mainly due to the cedi depreciation.
The cedi depreciation and the taxes that the government has imposed on us, to the extent that COVID levy, as we speak now, it's a burden on the business community as we speak.
I can just imagine the excitement on business owners when the incoming government seller is going to be scrapping some of the taxes. However, I will come back to you later. Yes. Doc, I will come to you. So we've got Dr. Joseph Obeng himself, president of GUTA. And over the years, you've seen some of the challenges amid foreigners also taking over some of the businesses in Ghana here and all. Doc, I'll come to you. But my colleague took a trip to the market in Accra to gauge the expectations of market women. And he joins us live. Prince, tell me, where currently are you and what have the market women been saying?
Well, MFI, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, the President-elect John Dramani Mahama will take over the reign of office as President of the Republic of Ghana. This morning, I went to the Agugulusi market, the Makola market, and ending up here at the Malata market. The question was simple. What are the expectations of this market woman of the new president that will be sworn in on January 7th?
sisi a omwaye na duty say your duty na do da no ma no so tax no only free home here na no man ko fom man na promise so our promise man na you do so ba man women's bank no omo do say oba enimani ya omboy no ma women's bank na embraso yesu enye bi mfin didwa ti ye dem paibo na eta ni chipa na ye de nyame aseso say bibia you successful hwia ensi.
Okay, we are expecting that things will go down for us because right now things are very expensive and we should do something about the dollar too so that important things will come down for us. The taxes on things like the COVID tax and e-levy that he promised that he would take away, he should stick to his promise. That's all that we want. And yes, we will show him shege.
You show him shege like how?
Like we did to the current government now. So you should do as he promised. You should make things a bit easier for us because things are hard. You buy things and today it's a different price. You go there, it's another price too. So you should do something. That's what we are expecting. And we are expecting that agencies will work because in the current government we heard about corruption. So he should do something about all that too.
In the last 2 days, he put in place a team to fight corruption. He named it Operation Recover All Loot. We have Okujeto there, we have Domelevo, we have Martin Kpebu, we have Kofi Boachi. What is your take on the team?
He has done everything. That's the best team for that operation to work. It's the best team. Okujeto will bring out every skeletons in every wardrobe. We are expecting that there should be some arrest because what was going on there, it wasn't good because the corruption was too much. So his team is strong and we know that they will perform. So we are expecting that they will live up to expectation.
We are welcome him that we have got a new president. But what is worrying is that so far as that we have voted for him, he should come and do the good things for us so that improvement will come more than how Nanado has done. Because of that, that's why a lot of us vote for him. But if he doesn't do the correct thing for us, by 4 years' time, we shall drop him down. We, the market women, especially our things, the things cost too much. It costs too much, so it should reduce the petrol and some other things. And secondly, to the students, those who are attending the J8 school, it should change a lot of things for us so that our granddaughters and grandsons and the children should go to the school very well. How they have been going to the school, vacation time, you come and sit in the house for 3 months before we go. We want him to look for that thing for us.
About that na etwa mu no obeye kwan maaye anha na ogusu a nti se aba ne kɔ no ye se nso meto asoman na ye dwa ye omesiesie man ye hia car park se bia mana ta ha de ye hia car park sa masaman na se bibisa ye hia na nkese nipa mra dwa ne mu e mayen ne yeso ye ho han kakra ye hia car park pa o dwa mu na se tiesrem of to the nim so mama yemayen ama saman epoku ase no mu na de ne la pass no nyina ba dwere mu a ye before say enyima mboko yi kakra mayen ne chese we beto ade na onya ka na mu betwe ne nse de ye bre ye nto ade gina ma nto ade be 1 million kura nti biso be faka betime de na maba nti esre no ma be boye esre ne se dollar no ma ne nkofom kakra mayen dollar no say the oil by 9.5 and cry a year Ghana ha cry 6 million obi ntimi ntongu apese so ena nguni sisi wo ya hye nguni sisi ho ma hye oil so sisi ho ni boy de oba 20 mi nto anwa anya duane ma ne ba ntini esre ne so ma ne mamu nwoma yen ne ya me so ye ayi ohia ne yeso ye mpa ntuma pa fra ye mre wai kura mpo no ye hia se dollar ne nkofom kura ma yen na yenya ye hunto yen kakra.
Well, MFA, you heard the market women from Makola, Agugloshi, and Malata here, all here in Accra. Their demands were simple. They want the new president to take a look at the rate of the cedi and make sure that the commodities in the market are cheaper, that people can afford and business can flow. My name is Prince Kwame Kudoga from Malamata here for Joy News.
Perfect. So I've got Dr. Joseph Obid, who is president of GUTA, and something about traders just excites him, and you should just see his face here, reacting to everything that these market women have been saying. Doc, what do you make of the expectations that these women, market women, have put out for the current government, the incoming government, I should say?
So whatever thing I've been saying here, I'm just mirroring the sentiment in the market, and they summed it up appropriately, even better than I have been saying here. So they are talking about the cost of doing business in the country. Essentially, this is what they've been talking about. And these are what brings the cost of doing business high is the accumulation of some of these factors, especially driven by the exchange rate that they are all talking about, and then the numerous taxes that we have made to pay. Then also the structure of the VAT, the cascading effect of the VAT, all these things have to be revised and then make sure that we put us on the threshold, because we've been talking about moving us away from taxation to production. Now everybody, productivity is lowered. That's why everybody, because importation is also not affected drastically, because our ability to even import more have been affected by the exchange rate. Right. When we talk about exchange rate or depreciation of the cedi, all that it means is that our capital have been depleted. The amount of money that we use to trade have gone down.
So we're unable to restore.
Exactly. So let's take, for instance, 2022, most businesses lost capital of about 52%. We started the year with 6.4 and ended the year 15.5. And that's where we reach the apex of this. And most people, most businesses have their capitals depleted around this March. And then coming to 2024, last quarter, well, we have a relative stability in 2023 because we adopted the IMF and all that. Yeah. The currency stabilized around 12.5. And then latter part of 2023, it started getting up, and it went up from 12.6 to the 17. It means that, again, we have also lost capital again. And so when this happens, it means that the volumes that we used to import, we are not able to import again, because if we are supposed, your capital, working capital was $100,000, now you're barely able to have $52,000. It means that when you were able to buy 4 containers of goods, now you are only able to buy 2 containers. You're limited. And all that. So you haven't used your money for any bad thing that normally people will say he has used the money to chase women and all that. But your money have been spirited away. Right. And that's the effect of depreciation of the cedi to the business person. And then when prices in the market go up, all that it meant to us was that the purchasing power of the consumer is also affected. Right. Especially when his income is depleted already. It means that he is not able to buy the same volume of goods that he used to maybe 10 cedis to buy. If he was able to buy 10 pieces of that, this time he will struggle to buy 4. It affects your turnover. When your turnover is affected, it means that you are unable to service your debts at the bank and all that. So that's the true state of the affair of the Ghanaian business person, that also have a serious trickling down on the consuming public, whose purchasing power have been so drained out because of the high cost of the prices and all that.
Doc, when I come back to you, I want us to measure the expectations, your personal expectations. I know you mirror the hopes and aspirations of these traders, but your personal expectations and how feasible their expectations as well. Okay. Is it overly balloted, or is it something that the incoming government can really meet? But let's go on Zoom and talk to John Kwame Edu-Jack, and he's speaking for the Ghana Freight Forwarders.
Hey, honorable member. He's an MP elect.
Is he? No, is he?
He is. He's MP elect. Ajujak.
Listen to Doc say,
yeah? Ajujak, yes.
Well,
he's to confirm, he's on air.
Well, you're on air.
Congratulations, if it's true.
Well, if it is true, congratulations. But tell us.
That is Johnny.
Oh, yeah, Johnny.
It's Johnny Rada.
Johnny, you're just joining us via Zoom, but I just want to know, Jakedu, finally, please, pardon me, but let me know really in freight forwarding, because you are responsible for moving it from one place to the other. Give me one major issue that's been affecting your sector.
Thank you very much, and let me say good evening or good afternoon to my big men at the studio. Let me also confirm that, yes, I'm the MP for the Mass Central constituency.
Congratulations.
Yes, it's MP. The constituency, he won the election.
Dr. Bien, that's your Jack.
So, okay, Jack. Okay, I'm happy. We have to celebrate over that.
Yes.
Jakedu, you can go on. Congratulations, and I'm hoping that by the time you get to Parliament, you're going to have a tall list of things you're going to be pushing for the industry. But share with us some of the challenges that you've faced so far.
Yeah, I think that my folks or colleagues have said a lot, especially Dr. Bin and my own importers and exporters president. You see, we act for and on behalf of these importers and businessmen. And all the businesses are happening at our ports or in our ports and various entry points and so on. Specifically, let me go to the ports. You are aware that when you are bringing in goods, you need to expedite actions to be able to do away with some payments that are not too good for our importing public. And if I use the word importing public, it will still trickle down to we, the consumers, if there are any payments that are huge. And so we ought to expedite our action to be able to clear the goods that get to ports on time so that the demurrages and other charges that we are always faced with are taken off. One of the things that we have had problem with severally, and we've been complaining, is about the container transfer delays that happens at the port. Because when the containers get to MPS, they ought to be transferred to various destinations like the terminals so that we can quickly work on them and clear them from the port so we don't pay some of the charges that are avoidable. But there are a lot of delays at these points which invariably do not help our importers and also ourselves. Because when it happens so, Dr. Abin will just call you and say, you are not doing what is right, you should be professional and so on. But then it might not be something that you have control over because the cargo has not been transferred from its place to the original place for the purposes of clearance. There are other things like these down times, let me use the word down times of our icons. You try to work on an entry and all of a sudden the whole system is down and you cannot do anything until the system is restored. And it happens more often than we can think of. And so if for any reason you want to do the job, but the system that permits you to clear at the port is not permitting you, and that is the only platform for you to be able to clear your goods. And all the time, and you have been given assurance it will be restored, and time will not wait for anybody.
Right.
As far as time is consuming, definitely you understand that you have a lot to deal with in terms of the mortgage payments and then the GPHA, the rent, many other things.
Did you have any challenge with shipping lines currently?
Of course, for us, for the shipping lines, one of the biggest challenge we have as traders is that they themselves are becoming forwarders, and that is the major problem that we have with them.
If I visited the port tomorrow, if I visited the port tomorrow, yes. What is likely to happen tomorrow?
Yeah. Concerning they being freight forwarders. Yes, as for us, we know that, you know what, I have a client, and then the client decides not to come back to me again. None of our members is doing the job, but the work is being done and cleared from the shipping line. Who clears it? You can put your ears on the ground and see.
Okay.
It's a major challenge. And you see, sometimes we have a lot of laws in there.
I'm not too sure. I think my network is not favoring me today. But when we're done, we'll wrap the conversation and we'll go. Doc, I'll come to you, Dr. George Domfe, because you're an economist. I'd like to put all these concerns into perspective. And then you share what you think the incoming government will do. But Samson, I'll come back to you, Doc, and I'll come to you. I'll come to you again on the concerns that we should limit or reduce importation as a country. And you are into business as well. Is there a balance? Are we able to still maintain importation and still consume local content as we're hoping that would be the way we can industrialize?
Thank you. I'll answer your question, Egifi. But I think you asked whether is there any issues between the shipping lines and the business community.
I heard you explain.
I can tell you clearly that the shipping lines is a big challenge to us in terms of the demurrage and some of the charges, the local handling charges that sometimes your cargo does not even reach 7 days when the vessel arrives, yet I'm going for it. And for example, if I'm having 5 containers on one document, they are not charging me just for face value, but they are charging me 15,000 times the number of containers on one document. It's a big challenge.
Is this a new thing, or is this before?
This is the challenge we have. Yeah. And I think that this new government that is coming will have a lot to do. I'm also... Adija just talk about the system, that's the ICOM system, and I'm sure that the authorities are listening, the Ghanaian artists. Please, if that is what we are getting from the free forwarders, I know you've been working. Anytime your system is down, you do send that information. When you work on it and it's back, you do send back information. But this is what those on the ground are saying. I know that ICOMs, you have to work on it to make sure that this Christmas we don't have such a delays in the port. He talked about the MPS transferring of containers. It's also another problem. The scanners at MPS is having huge problem. And sometimes transferring the containers, even containers that are destined to go to GPHA terminals, is being delayed, and MPS take advantage and charging us. Which this new government that is coming, we think that we have to really look at it. The next transfer
and the delay is due to what reason?
They deliberately delay it.
Interesting.
Yes, so we think that the next government that is coming, the next transport minister will have to be proactive, because we are going to invade your office with issues and we want you to act. And now that Secret Authority now have the law, we think that the Secret Authority will act actively, swiftly, to deal with anybody who wants to delay unduly for any importer to spend so much there and come to charge you and I, the consumer. I am a consumer. Even though Dr. Maya is an importer, I am an importer, I am a consumer. So that's the way to go. The other aspect that you put, let me put it on perspective. Our friends from AGI, at the time we were having benchmark values back and forth, were saying when they meet the government, they will tell the government, look, these benchmark values that you've given to the importers, go to the market and see. They are not reducing the prices. When they meet the consumer, they say, oh, we can produce.
Okay.
So they are causing, we are creating, no, when they meet the government, they said we are causing injury to their businesses.
For the local producers.
And when they meet the consumer, they said, still, we are enjoying benchmark values, yet we haven't reduced the prices. Is that what they were saying? Yeah.
Are you enjoying any benchmark values?
So benchmark value has taken away.
It has been.
And the question was that when benchmark value is being stripped from the business community, they will be able to produce up to optimum. As we speak, today they were talking about Ebru. It's got shortage. It's not local production. As we speak, no any AGI member can tell me that since the time they reverse the total reversal of the benchmark values, they are able to produce up to optimum. The issues that they were supposed to fight, they were not fighting. Issues were cost of utility tariffs is killing them. I know many companies that are, including the AGI members, who still import line items to show up when they have the capacity to produce it here. But because of the cost of production, they are not producing. So we are not just saying they should import everything, but we think that they have to establish something. And I'm happy one of the, I think the NDC manifesto also talk about what they will do for that industry. On Monday, when my party, you know, apart from the business community, I'm also the national chairman for PNC.
That's why I know you're popular.
So on Monday, my party went to congratulate the president-elect.
Yeah.
AGI and their national executive were there to also congratulate the president.
You're giving us receipt of their presence.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I can tell you that this new government that's coming will has a lot to work to make sure that at least if they are pointing fingers at us, give them the right needed tools, let them produce at cheaper and quality. Then we will not import more. But I can tell you, we are not just importing, but we are protecting the security. There have been food shortages in this country if we were not importing so many items.
So once there's enough locally
there's a gap.
produced,
we are just closing the gap so that we will not expose the country that people cannot produce. Why? Because cost of production is high.
Okay.
So we bring in to cover the gap. So we are partners. We are not enemies.
No, I see you're itching. I want you to react to all of it, plus the question that I quickly want to go back to Zoom and engage Dr. George Domfe. He's an economist. Doc, you've been listening. Before I come back to the Guta president, which one of all of these challenges are you agreeing with, and what are you prescribing?
Thank you very much, my dear sister. I've listened to the conversation, and I think almost everybody is right from where they are. I can hardly say this person is wrong because they are on the field and they are feeling, they are having the feel of the realities on the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, but let me make a few comments. One person indicated that government deliberately supervised the depreciation of the CD so they could rake in more revenue. I think I cannot agree with this particular assertion. I cannot agree with this particular assertion because this same government that you are talking about came to power at the time $1 was being exchanged for 20 pesos. I'm talking about since January 2017. Since January 2017, $1 was going for 20 pesos. And now this was maintained until January 2022, $1 was going for 20 pesos. So for almost 61 months, I should say, the CD maintained a stable value. And if you look at our records from, especially during the current dispensation, one of the best period that CD, where CD performed so well, was this particular period. So at that time, don't tell me that government at that time didn't want revenue. What happened? I'm wondering whether any government from anywhere could have addressed it. At the beginning of the year 2022, our total revenue, our total gross, international reserves. And when I talk about gross international reserves, that's the money Bank of Ghana holding a basket to protect the CD. Our exchange rate system is managed floating exchange rate. And if it is a managed floating exchange rate system, what it means is that in as much as supply and demand of the foreign currency determine the value of the CD, Bank of Ghana would also intervene as at when it is necessary to supply more foreign currencies in order to, as it were, reduce the pressure on the CD. And so Bank of Ghana has been doing that, and that is the managed aspect. But they can do it as far as they have the reserves. You cannot give what you don't have. At the beginning of the year 2022, Ghana government had 9.9 billion in our gross international reserves. And this is about one of the highest we've had as a country. I remember 2019, we had 11 billion. But the 9.9 billion at the beginning of the year 2022 was also one of the highest. And so we had enough to protect the CD. Unfortunately, in the year, second month of the year, that is February 2022, during the Russian-Ukrainian crisis, a lot happened to the global market. And at the same time, we have just moved away from COVID and the global, we were experiencing what was termed as global supply crisis. And so the goods were not that available, and the few that were available, prices have gone up. And when the Russian-Ukrainian war also started, prices all over the world went up. And so Germany, for example, experienced inflation, the highest inflation in 70 years. U.S. experienced the highest inflation in 40 years. And so what that meant was that what you would have used $1 to buy from maybe U.S., you are now going to use $2 to buy that. That apart, free charges went up by 300%. And so if formerly you were using $10,000, bringing one container from country A to country B, now you need $30,000. And so the demand for dollar in the domestic market exceeded the supply. It was something Bank of Ghana could not contain. In as much as they had 9.9 billion, they started supplying by around June. There was so much pressure on the city because Bank of Ghana could not supply enough to meet the supply. People needed more dollars to bring the same quantity of goods that they were, hitherto importing.
Yeah.
And so what the government did at the time, I think it was right, that was when they decided to go for IMF extended credit facility, so they will get more dollars to shore up our reserves.
Okay.
And when they did that, the following month, July, I should say July 2022, $1 was going for 8 cedis, 20 pesos. By October, $1 was going for 17 cedis. And so at that time, I have asked, what would they have done as a government? Because we had almost run down our reserves. And Ghana government does not print, dollars. And Ghana government cannot also ban import. Because you could not do these two things, it became very difficult. And I must say that it wasn't only Ghana that went through this crisis. Nigeria, before the crisis, Nigeria, one hour was going for about 360 naira was going for $1. But now about 1,600 naira goes for only $1 dollar, and that is to tell how the devastating effect of this the global economic turmoil on countries, especially the import dependent countries. So what happened? It was very difficult, but I must say something very positive came out of that, because from the year 2000 all the way to 2023, our averagely we kept only 9 tons of gold. Ghana produces gold. I was wondering, we produce and we sell everything. If we had maintained more of these gold that we be selling in raw form with the Bank of Ghana, it could have helped, the city, and because of this particular situation, Bank of Ghana started an exercise, domestic purchase of gold. And as I speak with you, at the end of October this year, we have 28.1 tons of gold, up from 9 tons last year. And so that means that something positive is happening. And as I speak with you, we have over 8 billion reserves. And that is why just about 2 months ago, $1 nearly hit 18 cedis. But today it has come down because Bank of Ghana was able to enter, intervene, and they supply more. And that is why we are seeing cedis being so strong today.
Thank you, Doc. I think you have given us a very good picture of how the government has gone like this and come back and giving the current government some respite. But Dr. Being back to you again, you have heard Doc, he's an economist. What he has done is bring back everything in the last 8 years and remind us what the government has done right and what the government has not done right. Back to your market women, their expectations, are they just ballooned expectations? Or these are feasible things that the incoming government can do? You've also heard a request of something as well. You've heard everybody as well. I want to know if everything that you're asking for is quite feasible.
So it's all about stability of the local currency and how do we go about it. We've identified that the problems are structural. If you say that they are structural, how are we going to identify and then deal with it? It's as simple as that. Now we cannot go back. We can only look forward and see how we'll be able to manage the economy. As it were, because you asked a question about import substitution, how we think
the importers
about it.
are...
Because I guess you asked that question in relation to the exchange rate.
Yes.
And so why do we even do excessive importation and all that? But then I support you and anybody who call that we have to minimize importation and then make conscious effort to be self-sufficient.
Doc, something here is worried that when we leave it to the local producers, they are not able to meet the demands. It's a matter of demand and supply anyway. So the importers...
No, so if you want us to consume what is made in Ghana, then you have to identify the goods that we have the capacity to consume. So even the journalists, most times you should have listed the goods that is made in Ghana You should know the number of products that we produce here. You know the capacity of production that can be able to satisfy the needs of the Ghanaian people.
Will the 24-hour economy help in it?
And then, of course, you can hold us to it that why do we produce such capacity that can is sufficient for the whole nation, and you are still bringing. Mind you, the distributive sector, no manufacturing sector thrives without a vibrant distributive sector. So manufacturing, if they manufacture the goods, we serve as the vehicle to send the goods to the final consumer. So we are very integral part of it. But whatever is produced here in Ghana, we buy, and then when the shortfall of demand, we bring from outside. So I also support any call that we should make any conscious effort, because that's the only thing that will help us stabilize our economy. It's one of the major things, the structural things, and I support that. But then we should be able to identify those areas that we have a comparative advantage, because it's not everything in the world that we can produce also. Right. So we have to identify those things. And then also, whilst we are encouraging people to move from trading to manufacturing, so that we can shore up our supply or productivity, we have to do everything also possible to contain the influx of foreigners into the retail sector.
I was going to come and
derail the effort. Because let me tell you, you know that the total import that we do in this country, the local share in this importation is 20%.
80 is for foreigners.
80 is for the foreign, those who can bring 4,000 containers, 2,000 containers, and the rest a year. As against those of us who go to Dubai and group about 20 people.
Rate. Are they not using the same currency in Ghana? While in Ghana,
they use the same currency, but what is happening? What happens is that they do not bring in, because they are supposed to be foreign direct investors. And so the investment laws should be able to guide them. Because our investment law should not drive investment to trading sector. It doesn't make sense. The investment law should drive investors to more productive areas. So when they allow and they make the laws so easy for people, for the expatriates to just go, they go and get these monies from HSBC, very big loans.
At 0%.
0%, and then they take it to buy goods. They don't bring the foreign exchange itself here.
That's very interesting. A loan at 0%.
Of course, there are countries that are borrowing at 6% per annum, and we are borrowing at 30% per annum. So how can you survive with such a person?
And then they represent the manufacturers and all that. They bring all these goods. They don't bring any dime of a foreign. So our foreign direct investment laws should be looked at. If we're able to do that, we're able to contain this mass importation that we do, and that our city will get the respite that it needs. That aside, all the juiciest part of our economy is in the hands of the foreigner, again, apart from trading.
You mean there are some parts of the economy that are juicy,
bauxite, all these areas. And that's why the previous, the outgoing government, they had balance of trade surplus for 5 continuous years. And then the money will go. And then the money itself, the foreign exchange itself will not come back. Because the oil people, they don't need the money back in Ghana. So when they ship their goods, they retain it. We don't have any retention policy.
It's supposed to come.
We have to get, yes, the money should come. So the gold that we export, the bauxite that we export, the manganese, and all these things, they go, and then in the book, we say that we have exceeded, we have a balance of payment surplus. But yet, that balance of trade surplus, yet the proceeds do not come. And so that's our woe.
So in all of this, your solutions, do you agree to all the taxes that the current government says they are coming to scrap or cut off?
It is important that to open up the economy, and you talk about the 24 economy. Let me tell you this. The professor disagreed with me. He has his right. I have no problem with that. But the professor also failed to say that, to identify that what are some of the things that can we do as a country to bring more forests apart from the traditional commodities that we export. That is gold, diamond, bauxite. I have seen, and I want the incoming government to take the bull by the horn. I have seen, and where I sit and where Gupta president sit, the ambassadors that are representing their countries in this country, the American embassy, the UK, the Canadians, they knock the German, they knock our doors every day. The ambassadors tell what did they come to our office to do? They come to tell, look, we are bringing our trade people. They are coming, so we want you to organize your people for them to come and meet. We want to know your people, Ghanaian travel to Germany and these countries. What do they buy in US? The last time...
In this light, what do you want the government to do?
So in this regard, I want the next government or the president-elect, when he's sworn in, he will be appointing ambassadors. The ambassadors will not just go because my party has come, so
they should also knock on doors of business.
Also make sure that identify in those countries that they are serving, what do they buy from Ghana?
Let me support
if it's okra, if it's pepper, if it's tomatoes, if it's meat.
I had a meeting with one of these ambassadors, maybe I don't have to mention the name here, and he said that their target is $1 billion by 2025.
If you don't
coming from Ghana.
Yes, goods coming from Ghana. Purchased from their country.
Into Ghana.
Yes. Our embassies, do we even have trade attaches? No.
No, they got it.
Even the ambassadors that we appoint, most of them are so weak even to work. And so, if we do not make any effort, because we are traders.
Doc, they are weak physically or...
Oh, some of them they use it to reward the elderly, and that's not. But these people, they bring the young people who can move into it, because we want to go into export.
At least now you have a friend who is a member of parliament elected.
No, we have about two. I think there was the current government, the outgoing government, one of the deputy minister is a free forwarder. He won again, a chance MP, and Adu Jack is coming. But what I'm saying is that the ambassadors, as Doctor said, the ambassadors that are serving in Ghana on behalf of their countries, they have a target. You are going to Ghana, make sure Ghanaians come to our country to buy. This is $1 billion you should bring it from.
That is what we want. We want to do importation. You know, trading is not a one-way thing. Well, trading from time immemorial is bilateral.
Of course.
So you take goods to your destination of purchase, and then when you sell your goods and then you buy goods, then it's a barter.
Yes.
That's what we have.
So the next,
we want to be exporting goods to sell up our forest.
Right.
And let me tell you, if you want information from say China, Turkey, or elsewhere, from maybe Ghana export. What goods do I have to send? What quality? What quantity? What
is the information readily available?
You don't even have because we do not. We are breaking the chain.
Right.
The ambassadorial positions that we've given, each of them should get a trade attaché who will seek these informations and who will be given targets.
This is your camera, so just speak to the camera and tell the president-elect.
Who will be given targets? Your Excellency. My dear brother, father, and everything.
John Mahama, president-elect, yes.
This is a humble plea that we have a trade attaché who will give us the necessary information as to what we can send to those countries and it will show up our forests.
Not just the trade attaché. We are saying that the next ambassadors, he should make sure that they are on target. He should make sure that when you are serving any country in China, know what the China want from Ghana.
Exactly.
And bring those people to come and buy. And also bring us to go there and we trade, interchange. That is what exchange. That's what we are talking about. Don't just put an ambassador who think that my party has come, it's a reward for me. So I've been appointed as an ambassador. Your Excellency, and nothing.
Very well said, gentlemen.
That's what, so I want non-traditional commodity export. That apart from the traditional, the gold and other things, cocoa and other things, we want non-traditional export. That is the sole way to bring more forests back to the country. So your ambassadors should be taxed. They should be given targets. Every quarterly they should come and report how much dollar have they been able to brought, how much quantity of goods have been sold out. That's what we are talking about.
Doc, thank you so much.
Thank you also.
Susan, thank you so much for joining us today on The Pulse. This has been The Pulse with me, MFA Akosia Adeti. That'll be all for today. For more news, though, do log on to myjoyonline.com.